If you loved our last live show in LA, then I have got good news for you because Riyadh season is coming to the UK. We are going to be live inside a packed Wembley Stadium for one of the best cards in British boxing history. In the main event, it's the Battle of Britain as Anthony Joshua attempts to become a three-time heavyweight champion of the world against Daniel Dubois. Joshua will be confident after two quick stoppages against Otto Wallen and Francis Ngannou. But Daniel Dubois will believe he has enough to beat the great Anthony Joshua after two stoppages of his own against Jarrell Miller and Filip Hrgovic. These two beasts are putting it all on the line and the card is stacked, including the rising star Hamza Shiraz, the Olympic medalist Joshua Buatsi, the Leeds warrior Josh Warrington, and the former WBO world champion Liam Smith. And he's not the only Liam showing up because Liam Gallagher will be performing 3 Oasis classics in front of Wembley Stadium. It's another classic Riyadh season card on the 21st of September. Watch it with us live on the Pain Game YouTube channel. Welcome back to the Pain Game YouTube channel. Today we are talking UFC. We're going to talk Conor McGregor losing his fight against Michael Chandler. What a shambles of a situation that is. But first, I'm going to talk about UFC Noche, which took place last night in the Sphere in Las Vegas. What a venue that is, by the way. And credit to the UFC. The way that whole show looked production-wise is probably the best produced combat sports show of all time. Like, that is one hell of an achievement for them, and I do give the UFC some criticism, but I want to give them credit when they get it right. It was beautiful, that event. You had like 50-foot tall fighters in the galaxy made up of stars, and then all of a sudden you see like old ancient Mexico where all of the old warriors were, and like it goes from nighttime in the galaxy to bright and day, and like it just looks so realistic. They created an entertainment experience there, and as someone who does a bit of production myself, I take my hat off to them, man. That was amazing. The one thing I would do differently if they ever do it again is the camera positioning. The cameras were positioned so that the fans were through the cage. They were the backdrop for the fight. Whereas before this happened, I kind of anticipated that this would be like Tekken, in that each fight would have its own level almost, and the background of it would change with every fight. But that happened on the screens, but the way the cameras were positioned at the crowd, you couldn't really see that and feel that. And I do think that of all of that effort they went to, that one little difference would have made it even better. And look, this is the first time anyone's ever had a fight event there. I'm sure that this is the first time they've done it. It can only get bigger and better if they ever go there again. And I'm hoping we get some boxing events there because that would be unbelievable. And while the event was visually stunning, it kind of went back to something I've been complaining about for a while now with the UFC, which is just their general level of fight cards, right? Because they do so many fight cards a year now, compared to what they did when I started watching back in 2005. All of their superstars were just loaded on each fight event back then. And as the years have gone on, with every year, especially in the last 5, the level of talent per fight card is significantly decreased, and it just feels lacking in that 5-course meal they used to serve us for a fight event. And look, it shows, right? Because boxing used to be really criticized for lacking in, big fights throughout the event, and now boxing is delivering on that big time with Riyadh season. And the UFC last night, I just think it could have had a bit more meat on the bone. And even Dana White came out after the event saying, like, I hope people switched off after the first 3 fights of the main card because the last 2 weren't really worth watching. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but it's kind of what he meant by the looks of it. And of course, I mean, Shevchenko, when has she ever been an entertaining fighter, mate? I don't even know why she was on this card. This should have been strictly for entertaining, guaranteed firework fighters. She's never been that. Maybe she's had the odd highlight moment in her career, but bloody hell, she could send a glass eye to sleep. And the main event, right? Merab Dvalishvili, the guy is a takedown machine, but when he gets you down, it ain't always exciting, is it? So yeah, I look back at UFC 100, a card that really deserved a venue like this, when you had Brock Lesnar, Frank Mir, you had, who was the co-main event again? GSP, and you had Michael Bisping in the third fight against Dan Henderson, like just main event after main event after main event, on this stacked card, and this just didn't have that feel to it. And the UFC very rarely does that anymore. So, I don't know why I'm surprised, but it stands to reason that we should have gotten more from this main event. Sean O'Malley just did not look himself in there. And at the start of round 1, right, Merab is talking shit to Sean O'Malley O'Malley's corner, who are back and forward. Herb Dean has to step in and interfere before they really even get going. That sort of lack of focus on taking out your opponent was really evident throughout the whole fight. Like, Merab was there to win, but he wasn't there to really beat the shit out of Sean O'Malley. And same for Sean O'Malley. Like, it was just a total lack of urgency and aggression in both men in that fight. And Sugar Sean landed a few decent strikes early on in the first round before being taken down. When he was down, Merab was working on them legs by kneeing them repeatedly. And when he finally lets Sean O'Malley up, you're wondering what kind of shape Sean O'Malley's going to be in. And there was a moment where he really had to shake off his shoulders. And I'm thinking, ooh, round one, you're looking at a little bit heavy in the shoulders already, a little bit fatigued already. You can't afford to lose the zip in your shots, because the windows of opportunity, when you're getting a takedown attempt on you as repeatedly as you're going to, they're going to be limited. And if you can't maintain that zip in your shots throughout each takedown attempt, like we're already seeing a sense of fatigue in round one, well, then this fight ain't going to go well for you, pal. And it didn't. In the second round, it really reminded me of Conor McGregor versus Khabib, when McGregor was so tentative and defensive, worrying about what was coming to him and not focusing on his game against Khabib. I've just never seen Sugar Sean look so unconfident in his striking. He was just almost waiting to be taken down, and that's exactly what happened. Again, not a lot happening on the floor. Like, O'Malley was told off for holding the glove of Merab, and eventually when Merab was, cranking on Sean, he starts kissing his back. Again, we're here to watch violence, mate, and it's just like, as talented this guy is, you wonder, are you taking this shit seriously enough here? Do you know what the job at hand is? It's to finish this guy. There was just, again, fucking around from him. Weird stuff, man. In round three, the fatigue has seemed to set in on Sugar Sean. He's looking sluggish, slow, not very aggressive. He's trying to land some shots, but nothing really meaningful is landing. Like, when he's connecting, you're not really seeing much of a reaction from Merab. Merab gets the takedown around 2 minutes in. Business as usual. And Sean did eventually regain his feet, landed a few more shots, but again, there was nothing that gave you any hope, really, right? At the end of the third round, you're looking in the corner, and Merab's nose is a bit bashed up a bit, but he looks fine. He looks like he's in cruise control. In round four, I was almost zoning out at this point. I was like, I'll just check my phone for a bit. It was just becoming a monotonous experience where I wasn't expecting anything eventful and anything entertaining to happen, right? The takedown came, Merab is laying on top of him, not even landing anything really meaningful himself. He's just putting the pressure on, overwhelming Sean, and you're like, yeah, this ain't going anywhere, is it? Nothing's really going to happen here. The fact that we got into round five, and around a minute into the fight, Herb Dean has to remind these two fighters fighting for the most coveted prize in MMA, right? The world title of the UFC, in the most amazing arena we've ever seen in combat sports. And Herb Dean is having to remind these two, come on, fight. It was a joke. Honestly, it was a bit of a joke, man. Come on. Imagine that happening between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. Imagine it, though. Not a fucking chance. I counted, I think, roughly a minute and a half before either fighter even touched each other in there. In round five, the moment where you're supposed to be pouring it all on and securing the victory. Mental. Merab did decide to make something happen. He put a right hand on Sean and landed a takedown. And it was just sad, to be honest, because I'm watching Sean go and lose his title without any real resistance, any real hard struggle. Like, there's some fighters who are nowhere near as talented as Sugar Sean, but mentally, they'd never let a title go in the way he did in this fight. And I think that's the most disappointing thing that Sugar Sean will feel when he looks at this back. Like, it's not that I lost, it's how I lost. You can't lose like that. You've got to put up way more of a fight than that. You've got to gamble and risk everything to hold onto a belt like that in that scenario, and he didn't really. When he got back up, he lands a nice front kick to the stomach, which clearly got a reaction out of Merab. The first time we'd really seen anything happening, and you're thinking, could have done with that about 4 rounds ago, mate. Then he's chasing him around, and obviously it led to nothing because there was nowhere near enough time left to capitalize on that. But he'll kick himself, ironically, when he watches that back. So look, congratulations to Merab Dvalishvili. Will I be excited to watch him fight again? Probably not. I want to see Sugar Sean, come back to his best and give it another go, because he is a very exciting fighter. He is a star, potentially, for the UFC, but like a lot of the stars in the modern era of UFC, they're just not hitting the heights that the old stars would, right? Like, of course, Anderson Silva eventually lost, Conor McGregor eventually lost, all these, top guys eventually lost, but the run that they had was far more significant than we see these days in the modern era. But I do have to give credit to the UFC, right? That was a spectacular event. It was a beautiful, a production to watch. It is just a shame that the fights didn't live up to what the production deserved. And now, a word from our sponsors. You might have heard me talking about Raycon headphones before. They're the everyday earbuds at the same quality as the big brands, but half the price. Well, if you haven't pulled the trigger on these headphones, now is the time. Not only do these look the best, in my opinion, by a mile, they also have great functionality. I mean, they're class, by the way. I absolutely love them. I wear these every single day. They've got a 32-hour battery life, by the way, which is fantastic. There's a quick charge feature, which means you can charge them for 10 minutes, and they'll go for 90 minutes of battery life. And they're ergonomically designed, so they can fit in lots of different ear sizes. Not to mention weatherproof and sweat resistant, so if you're going to use them for your workouts, perfect. They charge wirelessly and they come in loads of different colors, so you can pick the perfect color headphones for your personality. I listen to podcasts with these every single day. So if you want top class headphones, you know what to do. Click the link in the description below, go to buyraycon.com/paingame, and you'll get 15% off and free shipping. And thanks to everyone who does, because not only are you getting great headphones, but you're also helping the channel, and I appreciate it. But for now, enjoy the video. Now on to Conor McGregor, who is without an opponent after Michael Chandler finally decided, after 2 years of waiting for the skeezer, I'm done. And look, I'm surprised Michael Chandler waited as long as he did. The guy's had the patience of a fucking saint, but also part of it has been desperation, if we're honest. Like, he's had the piss taken out of him for a long time about this. He's kept reaffirming to the fans over and over again, you don't know, I know I'll get this fight. And to see it all blow up in his face like this, you're like, feel sorry for him, but also it's like, well, come on, mate. Have you not been paying attention? Have you seen Conor McGregor's track record? By the time he eventually gets in the cage, which is now next year apparently, that'll be 4 fights in over 8 years. And out of those 4 fights, he won once against Donald Cerrone, a guy who everyone beats. Like, just to put it into context, in that 8 years, with Conor McGregor having 4 fights, Dustin Poirier has had 15. What are we doing here, right? This guy is a celebrity, right? He's not a fighter anymore. He's a fucking celeb. By the time he fights again, it'll be 3.5 years since his last fight. And even with the injury he had, that is mental. And right now, Michael Chandler, in terms of money earning, he's in his prime, right? He's probably not in his athletic prime, but in terms of name and what he's achieved in his career and how big he is, this is his prime. And he is losing 2 years of career earnings for thinking that he can trust Conor McGregor to show up. He makes around 500 grand a fight. He could have fought at least 4 times in those 2 years. He could be £2 million richer. And instead, jack shit. He should really be kicking himself because his family have lost out through this bad decision of his. He should have cut his losses a year ago, but instead he did his old motivational quotes all over Instagram and see you at the top and all of this. And you're like, when will we see you, pal? We don't know. And look, I actually think this is a mistake from Conor McGregor because I know he had that broken toe and we don't know if that was a lie for something else. I haven't got a clue, but let's just say it was only a broken toe and take him at his word, right? Now that he's lost the Michael Chandler fight, he's in deep shit now because the kind of fights that will be available to him, I don't see anyone who will have the profile big enough to get in the cage with Conor McGregor who is a stylistically easier matchup than Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler is, a tough fight. I respect him. But style-wise, he is the most tailor-made fight for Conor McGregor. He comes forward, his chin is in the air, he's a scrapper, and he walks onto shots. That is exactly what Conor McGregor wants as the counter-puncher to lure you in and to make you pay with the size and the reach that he has over Michael Chandler and the power. Most of these other guys, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, they're dangerous as fuck for Conor McGregor. So I don't know where they go from here because you need someone with profile to get in there with him. And all the guys with profile have profile because they're pretty fucking good. Chandler was the weakest link out with them. Conor McGregor tweeted out, Chandler saw that takedown getting stuffed and mauled and officially dipped. Fat little pussy. I'm at the Hard Rock, Florida for the bare knuckle tonight. Got tested earlier today by the DFSI. Give me my fucking date. The idea that Michael Chandler ducked Conor McGregor when he waited for the skeezer to show up for 2 years, even did the motherfucking shit show of an Ultimate Fighter just to get this fight, and still didn't get it. There is no ducking by Michael Chandler here. That is crystal clear in my opinion. And honestly, For Conor McGregor to keep this guy on ice waiting for that length of time and then to claim he ducked him when McGregor pulled out of the fight, have some shame. Come on, man. You used to really have a lot of pride and ego, and now, you know, you're saying things that just have no merit to them. Back in the day, the reason why we invested so much in Conor McGregor was because we could believe a word he said. That is a distant memory now. And Michael Chandler has responded to the tweet.
I'm not even going to respond to Conor's stupid little tweet acting like I dipped. The simple fact of the matter is you are the most unreliable human being that has ever graced mixed martial arts. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to fight Charles Oliveira. Why am I going to fight Charles Oliveira? Number one, it's a badass fight. Number two, it's a rematch. It's a redemption story for me. The dude who already stole from me, rightfully so, in a fight, in a fair fight. He stole my dreams, shattered my dreams of becoming UFC champion. Now I get the opportunity to fight Charles Oliveira, become the number one contender, and then I've got options. If Conor can finally get his house in order, if he can finally string together a couple of sober days, string together a couple of days where he's actually training and actually feeling good, and he can actually finally make good on his promise of the greatest comeback in combat sports.
Can we have another finally? I love how you said at the start, by the way, I'm not going to respond to him, and now is responding to him.
Then I will fight Conor after I dispatch of Charles Oliveira or Islam Makhachev.
Can we just agree, right, that years ago when McGregor was in his prime, there is no way anyone could have gotten away and calling out the balls on Conor McGregor, saying, you don't have the balls to get in this ring with me. You can't even string a fucking training camp together. The shit show of you. Imagine someone being able to say that to this guy now. It's embarrassing. We're now having to look at Conor McGregor's legacy as like the first few years and the next 8 years. You know, like they're almost like two separate chunks, and there's far more of Conor McGregor's career that's gone to shit than actually has gone to the plan anymore. The one thing I would say to Michael Chandler is, why are you even giving him another opportunity, saying, well, if he can do this, I'll still fight him, mate. I understand you want the money, pal, but it's time to get real. You've waited 2 years. He's not showing up, mate. Why are you still even entertaining the thought of him possibly showing up? I don't know. And look, every single other UFC fighter really needs to consider before signing a fight against Conor McGregor, because look at this man. 2 million quid minimum he could have earned in the last 2 years. He's earned zero. That is what could happen to you next. Don't fall for the bullshit. Red panty night and all that crap. The guy just isn't reliable. Why the fuck even bother? And I do understand that part of the delays may also have been down to the UFC trying to hold on to McGregor, the contract situation, the TV deal they're negotiating. They want to have Conor McGregor on their books. He's only got 2 fights left. I understand that plays a role. So maybe it's not all Conor, but you can't tell me with 4 fights in 8 years that guy has been dedicated to fighting. Has he fuck? There's misfits fighters who've shown more dedication to fighting than this guy. And now Chandler is getting less money to take a harder fight against Oliveira. And this was Conor McGregor last weekend getting pissed. Looking rather skinny, lacking in muscle mass there. He's not really looking in shape. The thing is, you probably say this, that's why I say shit like that. It's quite funny because I know he's so like fragile with his ego, but everyone likes to piss up, right? He owns a fucking whiskey business, fair play, but like it just doesn't look good, and nor has it looked good for the longest time. So I'm 50-50 on whether or not we see this guy ever fight again. It's a shame because despite my personal opinion of him as a human, the guy is entertaining to watch, and it is fun to have him back in the UFC, and really they do need stars right now. That last event is proof of it. But will we see him again? Your guess is as good as mine. But let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, let me know what you think of the Sean O'Malley fight. Can he regain his crown, or is this the last time we see him with the belt around his waist? Don't forget to hit the like button. Stay subscribed to the Pain Game YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.